As we've been reporting, Central Command says the U.S. military is conducting a new wave of strikes on Iran at the direction of the president. The second night of strikes came after President Trump said the fragile ceasefire between the two was over as far as he was concerned. For more, let's bring in Will Todman. He's a senior fellow for the Middle East program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. So, Will, if this is the end of the ceasefire, what does this mean?
Well, I don't think this is yet the full end of the ceasefire. We have previously seen bouts of fighting, then followed by a period of relative calm. And I think it is still ultimately in both sides' interests not to revert to a full-scale war.
But our Charlie
If they
D'Agata reports that his sources are telling him that these strikes are 8 to 10 times stronger than what we've seen prior.
So I do think it is very clear that although I don't think both sides want a full return to fighting, they feel that the status quo was untenable. And that comes down to a real disagreement over what exactly was agreed to on the Strait of Hormuz in that memorandum of understanding that they agreed to last month. The Iranians seem to believe that they continued to have control over it and that they were able to force ships to participate in a registration system that they had set up, even if they acknowledged that they agreed not to charge them fees for 60 days. Whereas the US does not think that Iran has that right, and they do not want to see Iran exerting its authority over the strait because they think that would set a really dangerous precedent going forward. So I think what we're seeing now is the fact that the MOU actually kicked the details of the negotiations further down the road and had not solved them. And it simply brought a period of peace and a period of calm while talks would continue to try to tackle those thornier issues. And now we're seeing probably the inevitable conclusion of that, which is when neither side felt like they were getting what they believed they had agreed to, then they resort to military tactics again.
So then if we're not back at full-fledged war, but we're not really under the ceasefire as governed by the MOU, where does that leave us? Where does that leave the MOU? How do we continue negotiations to longer-term peace?
So President Trump has said that he actually wants his negotiators to continue talking to the Iranians. And so I do think that indicates a sense that he does want to continue to seek a more comprehensive agreement with Iran. And I think that that's important because even while he makes these very serious threats and conducts these serious strikes, as you said, that's intended, I think, to get the Iranians back to the negotiating table and to make compromises on some of these sticking points. I don't think he believes that he would better secure his aims with a full-on return to war. And he's made many of these threats before as part of his negotiating strategy. But what this could look like is a return to the period that we were in between April to June, where it's a lower intensity conflict with flare-ups every couple of weeks, perhaps. And that's something that I think the international markets will not respond well to because it will instill and embed uncertainty in this critical artery of international trade.
Okay, Will Todman, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me, Lindsay.